Hi, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a quick conversation around how we leave spaces that are just literally causing us to shut down. And that could be abusive spaces, neglectful spaces, emotionally uh, limiting spaces, like people who just cannot support or see or validate the fact that we feel the way we feel. They're not safe people for us to be around. It could be somebody that you've known your entire life, or somebody that's just recently come into your life, or it could be somebody that you love and trust and they just can't show up for you in a certain way. And if they're not able to be accountable to their behavior and evidence that accountability through really, really showing up to change and help become a healthier person alongside you, then they might not be somebody for the rest of your life journey. But how do we know? How do we know? That is just kind of a question that's been plaguing me all week. Everywhere I turn, I'm crashing into that, but how question. Even in my own recovery of an overflooded nervous system, from PTSD, post concussion syndrome, physical injuries that I'm rehabilitating, my nervous system is, as my therapist always says, it's just one nervous system. So let's just focus on healing one thing at a time. And today we're going to talk about honestly taking a good look at what you're bringing to the table in your life for you. When we are not showing up for ourselves to have a difficult awareness. I remember, excuse me, I remember 4, 5, 6 years researching, learning, secretly learning about what was happening in my life. And every time I would get just brave enough to bring it to the table to talk about, I would get shut down with rage. There would be this massive flood of rage and humiliation and shame. How dare I for thinking different? How dare I for not complying? How dare I for not continuing to accept and embrace the scraps? How dare I not continue to want to be abused? When somebody reacts at you in that way, or if you feel too scared to have a conversation with somebody, really take a step back. One, if they're just not safe to have a conversation with, it's pretty easy. You got to start asking yourself, why? Why am I feeding this relationship at all? Clearly, there's something in me that I need to address in order to break the connection that I have an addiction to this person being in my life. And I've been there. I have been there, and it is hard. You just keep trying to get them to come along, right? And they're so close. They're going to understand it this next time. They never understand it. You need to leave. But oftentimes, we also have people in our life, relatives, friends, bosses, just people that we just bump into and we develop a relationship with that just need for us to understand ourselves better so that we can help them understand what we need. If we are codependent or we have suppressed relationship with ourself, we are out of contact with our emotional self, our compassionate self, our reflection of our own footprint in life. It's going to be difficult for us to just go, well, I need, because we're going to feel so guilty and ashamed and terrified. Or we just will lack the skill altogether. We will lack the skill altogether. So it is very critically important for you to start with very small things. What is it that I would like to have happen here? Right? Ask yourself that question. If I'm going to have a difficult conversation with my sister, this is all a made up scenario. But if I need to have a difficult conversation with my sister, I first need to ask myself, what is it that I want to get from that conversation? Do I want her to agree? Do I want her to change her mind? Do I want her to show up in a different way? Do I want her to just get out of my way and let me do my own thing and stop, mother henning me? What do I want? It's okay for you to have wants. It's actually part of a healthy, balanced self-ego to understand what you want and need in your life. That is your role. As a victim of narcissistic abuse, psychological abuse, emotional neglect or abuse, mental neglect or abuse, and the many more types of abuses that are out there or neglects that are out there or traumas that you may have suffered. As a victim of those, you are not going to have the capacity to just feel like it's great and okay for me to ask for what I want and need. So we've got to build that memory muscle by showing up for ourselves and making ourselves uncomfortable. The more that we do the uncomfortable by showing up and representing ourselves in difficult situations, the easier and more normal it's going to be. And the more that you surround yourself with people who support you, teach you, lead you, and help you, assist you to have difficult conversations, the easier it's going to be for you to build that memory muscle. Building that emotional connection, that psychological, soulful, heartful connection to yourself, within yourself. That is going to be the key that sets you free from all abusive, narcissistic, codependent relationships. Because if you have a healthy sense of self, you cannot and will not allow yourself to stay in places where you are not seen, respected, heard, valued, and treated. Treated the same as the vocal agreements. So the words and the actions will match. And that is the quick and honest key to you recovering from narcissistic abuse, narcissistic relationships, abusive relationships, trauma relationships. The key is within you and how you view yourself and how you interact with the world. There is no more important relationship in your life than the way that you view and treat yourself. I just wish that you could, I just really feel, I hope that you can. I'm just channeling this positive, amazing, beautiful energy into the universe. And I hope that you can receive it. And I hope that it can just plant a seed inside you. And I know how hard these journeys are because I have walked in your shoes. My story is on the How My Parents Raised Me podcast. You can go listen to an interview about my childhood and why I do what I do today. It is crucial to know that you are not alone. In whatever you're facing, there's somebody else in the world who has been in your shoes. And in narcissistic relationships, there's a lot of people who have been in your shoes. But there are not millions and millions and millions of people healing all at the same time because we don't have enough light workers and energy workers who have traveled from abuse victim to healed and not stinging and bleeding all over people and triggering people. Because you have to remove a lot of your own pain and righteousness. And I think that's why this coaching episode came to me so clearly today, is because I was a guest on a podcast Monday, and some of the interview questions were so good. I mean, when this episode comes out in 3 to 4 weeks, I'll tell you guys about it, and you'll love it because it's this so terrifyingly raw. And it really snuck right under my radar, those 3 or 4 questions, and it rankled my PTSD, and that grabbed onto my post concussion syndrome. And my life with kids is fluid, and it got just a little bit overwhelming, and I hit rock bottom. I had to rest. I spent a day resting and recovering, and it's we have to allow ourselves time for the journey of recovery. And I have been working specifically on recovery for about 10 years. 5 of it were hidden, underwater, secret, and shot down all the time, but they were building my reserve to get out. GTFO, baby. We are not going to stay in places that do not see us and respect us. To get to the point that I'm at now, I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of therapy, coaching, relearning, reteaching, which allowed me to distance myself from the emotional pain and trauma that people very close to me inflicted. And until you can get in front of a coach or a therapist that has done that, you're only going to be able to travel as far with them as they have healed themselves. And we've talked about that before. But this podcast on Monday where I was a guest, it's like, when you are healing up maybe a skinned knee and you re-scrape it, you re-injure it and you're bleeding again. You just need to put a Band-Aid over it, give yourself a little, breather, a little space, just adjust your activity level for a day or two and you get back on track. That's kind of what it's like. And when you're healing from PTSD and you're healing from codependency, or you're healing from, I'm going to let you fill in whatever your hurt and trauma and your invisibility may be, when you're healing from that, you have to take yourself out of the hyperactive survival mechanisms that you had and the overthinking mechanisms that you had, the over showing up, and you have to slow yourself down and really get into the right now. And sometimes that just means full stop, rest. And that's kind of what my body was saying. And I've learned to honor that. And by honoring that, I was able to shut those doors that had kind of just like, the little tendrils had opened back up, the hurt and the pain and the, but why? Because the but why doesn't matter. I'm not going to live my life for their enjoyment and dance. I'm going to live my life the way that I want to live my life for me, embracing the path that I am on, showing up fully and authentically as myself. But until we learn deep self-love, deep self-respect, deep self-compassion, deep self-awareness, and self-accountability, we will lack the integrity and authenticity of self to be able to recognize when and where we are not being heard, seen, and valued. Keep showing up in areas where you are learning. Give yourself a giant hug. Give yourself some giant compassion and just promise to yourself that I will keep moving forward. I will keep learning and applying the new skill sets that I'm going to learn today. I'm going to apply those tonight. I'm going to wake up and apply them tomorrow, and I'm going to try again. And if you keep doing that and you keep leveling up on how you show up for yourself, you will get rid of toxic relationships. You will. They cannot survive around somebody who shows up for themselves first. And I'm not talking in a disgusting, evil way. Like, I'm talking in a really authentic, I'm aware of my footprint. Oh, holy hell, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I won't do that again because I'm accountable for my behavior way. That kind of way. Don't shy away from hard conversations this week. Be your most true to you self that you possibly can be. And thanks for showing up today. I'm really proud of you, and I look forward to seeing you at my next coaching session.